Hey, welcome everybody. So this is the first episode, I suppose you could call it that. We used to do critique videos during streams once a week back in the day, but lately I haven't had an opportunity to do so. What I thought would be a little bit more valuable, I hope, is these sorts of videos here, okay? And I ask anybody that's in the audience, people that watch my stuff, friends, whatever, if you would like something critiqued, please reach out to me, send me an email. All my links for all the info where to do so is in the comment section below, or the description video, or description of this video. So please fire me off something. Don't just send artwork. Please send me something with like the question or what it is that you're looking to have critiqued. Just sending me a picture of a guy standing there. That's not going to help anything. If it's a problem with your anatomy or something you can't see, that kind of stuff will be better, because the idea here is helping you guys out with a specific video. I feel is a lot more streamlined. That way you guys can check it out. You guys don't have to all watch my 1 to 5 hour streams and catch casual critiques in between. I get all that. Okay, so anyway, thank you. The first one here is from Darren, and I'm just gonna briefly sort of hit on what he was trying to talk about and then his main questions here. Okay, just to put it in context for you guys as well. Okay, and the other thing too is I just want to point out, obviously, the first and foremost critique I'll most likely give, and I'll probably say this every single time, is keep drawing, you guys, as much as you possibly can, and keep trying to improve. Everybody's going to come at you with different styles and different skill sets and skill levels, and if you feel like you've been drawing for 5-10 years and you're still not there, the answer, honestly, is keep drawing for another 5 or 10 years. It doesn't get any easier than that. I highly recommend it. Basically, art is this: the more you put in, the more you get out. Okay, hands down. And that doesn't necessarily mean just time, but definitely the more drawing you do, the more you'll get out of it. You'll start to improve and check out like new things like tutorials and all that stuff. Anyway, we're rambling. So thank you, Darren. I just want to say appreciate you sending this in. Also, if you guys want to check out Darren's stuff, there'll be links in the comment section below as well to go check him out on Facebook. Okay. So he's basically saying, long story short, for 20 years I created a story with my friends about this planet of fruit and veggie. We all moved away and never finished the project. Fast forward 4 years ago, I decided to stop waiting for an artist to be interested in my story and just to get up and do it myself. Invested in a computer, he got himself a Cintiq, lots of paper, and started to relearn how to draw. Okay. At this point, I have a story, character art, and a few pages left out. One of the local publishers has a 6-page submission request in 2 months, and I would like to have these ready to submit. I told myself that if I was too lazy to get a good start on this, I would need to reevaluate my goals. Okay, so attached are the pages I plan to submit, 2 pinups of my main characters, and a prologue story of the pages, yada, yada, yada. So his questions: 1, am I visualizing the story well enough? 2, is there enough variety to keep the reader interested? 3, I feel like I have leveled off on my drawing skills, so I'm worried that I keep drawing safe panels in the effort to get it done. Okay, so we're just gonna skim through, and we're gonna, I'm just gonna go through with you guys, so you guys can see all the stuff that was kind of sent to me, and then we'll pretty much go from there. Okay, so let's go through the beginning here. So these would have been the 2 characters that he had set up for me in the beginning, or sent me, I should say. There's this carrot-looking dude. I don't know what this is. Like my default is a grape, and it could be. I'm not sure. So these are the comic pages here. Okay, and I do have to not appreciate, but going into this stuff, not everybody's going to always have finalized art that they're sending. Okay. Like this page is a great example. It's still being worked on. This one as well. So these aren't at a point for me to be able to critique, right? So I'm just going to, back out. This is what we started off with. It looks like pinups and stuff like that, okay? So first things first, okay? I don't care about the pinups. I want to start talking about the comic. Because really, from the outset, Darren's talking about he wants to sell a story, okay? Sell a pitch and a story and all that stuff, okay? First thing that I just noticed right off the hop, just flipping through these, is yes, you are 100% doing safe panels. And what I fear by saying this is that it pushes people. It can push people away from comics in general, because this is actually a really hard thing to do. Okay, if you notice, I'm only going to go up to the first 3 pages, because the rest, they're not even like I won't be able to like break these down. They're just too much of there's too much going on. But you have chosen to shoot this thing, if we were to talk about this in movie terms, as if it were a play, meaning we're sitting down in the audience looking straight. So everything is flat. There's no, angles going up, down, extreme perspective. Those are things that will inherently make readers continually flip through the pages. Saying that, when pages are like this over and over again that are just flat, you lose readers the moment they get to page 2 or 3. Okay, so in my opinion, I don't know the place that you're submitting to. I would say, if you've only got 2 months and I don't know your time situation, if you have the time, I would start all over again. And you might not want to hear that, right? But you might not have the time to devote to get into these angles and these things that you'll be learning in time. So if you don't have time, tighten these up, send them out, see what happens. For me, honestly, I don't think these are good enough, I suppose, to get published. Now, the reason for that, again, is what I've said with the staging and all that, okay? There's other things that are kind of going on. If we just zoom in, just to see if we get an idea of what the story is without reading all this stuff. I'm just going to skim, right? So there's some sort of meteor or something coming into a planet, and it crashes. And see, there's even things you've done here. I'll show you here. Let's draw in red, okay? You've made the smoke flat as well, like, this is the path that you've gone, and it's still flat, right? Like, even if you just went like this, just trying to change it, what it does is it gives the idea that these shapes are going into the distance, and you haven't done that. You flatten that one out as well, okay? And here we've got like this sound effect to me doesn't work because this is the thing, okay? And I don't know how to approach this critique, to be honest. There's little things that are going to jump out. So there's not like an ABC thing here. So I hope you guys can just kind of like pick on the things that I'm saying and go from there. So for me, whenever I decide to do a comic page, like let's look at this. Let's say we got the script that's got 1 panel, 2 panels, 3 panels, and I think this is all a 4 panel. I don't know. It looks like they're all running away from an explosion, but I don't know what this is. I don't know what that is. This isn't clear to me. I would think with an explosion this big, they would be running away from fire and brimstone and stuff. And I mean, I kind of see it going on, but I'm still a little lost as to what's going on here. When I sit down to do a page, when I start doing my thumbnails, and I question if you've even done thumbnails, usually when things are like this small, like I'll look at this, and these aren't thumbnails. They kind of look like they're just drawn in boxes and then put in places, and that's not a very good way to work. You'll end up having very flat comic books and stories, and something that's flat doesn't engage a reader. That's like cardinal flag. That's wrong, okay? All right, so anyway, I keep getting away from it. When I sit down to do a page, whatever the script tells me, I usually try to pick one panel that's the most important panel on the page, because that panel is going to take up generally the most room on the page, okay? It's what you want to sell as the emotion here, right? So in this case, the explosion, you've actually made it the smallest panel on the page right here, which leaves me to believe that it's not that big of a deal. It's an explosion, but it's a small explosion. And then you counter that with this giant panel, which is what you've chosen to have the most important panel on the page of them, what I'm assuming is running away from the explosion, okay? Personally, to me, I mean, this panel here could be much smaller. This panel could be much smaller, and then you could have more room for a big explosion, enough explosion that's going to make these people run away. Okay, and again, I'm still not sure what that is in the background, but this is just something. And this right here, the sound effect you have here, to me is a problem, because whenever you constrain anything into a panel, right? So you've made a box, which is a panel, and you put wada boom right in there, right? But you've squeezed it into that panel so much that it makes it feel tight and compressed, which is great if the impact is as big as that sound effect. Like, there's nothing else on this page so far that's like showing dialogue except this. And this, they came one day like meteor sweeping. Also, your writing is a little off here. They came one day like meteor sweeping through the galaxy. So you're gonna want to check your spelling and stuff. But anyway, the sound of an explosion, bang, right, is louder than words. That's the intent. And in my mind, if I was thinking of an explosion blowing up, I would want it over like even people screaming. It's the sound. And the thing is, when you're working with onomatopoeias or sound effects like this, you know, words that aren't words but they're sound effect, you have to feel it. Okay, I highly recommend checking out a guy named Jersey Drozd. I believe you can go to comicsaregreat.com. He has a wonderful course on that of just sound effects. How do you go about like drawing them or writing them and coming up with the sound and all that, right? For me, as long as you can get down to the basic stuff, like imagine it just deep inside you, an explosion goes like boom, right? Like it's low, or you've got like a bang, like it's massive. So this thing should be reflected in not only what you see, but how the words are. So even if this dialogue was bigger than the panel itself, you instantly win. It's breaking, I guess, the fourth wall. It's breaking the barriers that are holding it in, which is the comic panel page. Or you can do what you did in this last page or this last panel, where don't put panel borders on it at all, so that it's just open. The entire page is the explosion. Okay, so I would rework this entire page. Let me just give you an example, I suppose, so we're not just talking. And I'll try to go a little quick with this stuff, right? Maybe we get like a big fat silhouette brush here. Okay, so like I said, I'd probably put like, let's just do this, okay? I'll kind of have what you had. And thumbnails are super important, because without thumbnails, a lot of this is just guessing and filling in blanks, and that's not really a good thing. And you know, I'm trying to think of this in terms of a thumbnail, okay, just to give you a little bit of context. So those, they already look like they're too big, so I'm going to shrink them up even more, because I want the explosion. For me, I want the explosion to be the thing. That's, you know, maybe this is getting a little bit too much, more than half the page, like that. Okay, all right, so let's make a new panel here. So the first page you had, let me just pull this back, is a meteor coming to Earth, okay? So we always show, like, and you did one thing good, and I mean, this isn't mandatory, but you went from left to right, which is great. The reader's eye, they're coming into the explosion. The other thing you can do is you can change the perspective, and I mean, this is something that you'll have to do, what's it called with? Excuse me. Thumbnails for. What if instead you had the planet way up in the foreground, right? And you have the meteor coming towards us. Right? And I realize this could still look similar to what you have. You just have to play around with a little bit of this. And one of the things I'm trying to do here is, I know you did it a little bit, is you have like the massive size of that meteor, which is great, you know, if that's the size of it. So I'm just trying to show something here in simple terms here. So this next one is, again, it's them standing there watching as it explodes, okay? So what I would do is, the meteor hitting is a big deal for sure, but the expression, right? Like, check this out. You kind of have these guys all casually standing in a line like Power Rangers that just got ready for battle, and they're pointing off in the distance as an explosion. If it's causing this big of a thing, maybe, just something to consider, maybe they're all, you know, like, they were all doing something first, and then they look over their shoulder, you know, like, what is going on over there? You know, and you can put some people in the foreground. What I'm doing here is I'm changing this, not just the size of these people, but I'm trying, anyway, to show scale. Like, I'm showing these people, they're all, like, they were all doing something before something happened. And where you put them on the page is actually very important, okay? So if you still want to carry this motion from this coming this way, and it's still coming here, again, do maybe what I was suggesting, the thick to thin, so it's going into the distance, right? And, you know, the impact isn't causing the explosion right away, right? From basically what I've seen you do from here, it's this panel right here that's the explosion. This is the panel where it's like, you know, like, and now you can actually go in there and you could just write like kaboom or something. I'm just going real gross, right? And maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll put the ground or something. I don't know. You could figure this stuff out. I'm going super blunt with this thing here, which is putting an actual like nuke kind of bomb going off here, okay? So do you see the difference here? I'm hoping, where we put kaboom, like, look how big it is. You feel this explosion. It's even going past the panels that we did before. And the reason this can work, I'm not saying it is the way to do it, but it's a difference, is that we've already felt this motion and now it's exploding past the panels. So even when you start with this first panel, it's impending doom. Whereas here, the impending doom's there and it just casually goes over and bang. Like, I understand the flow of this smoke is, you know, is fine. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but we start from the left and we're going over to the right. It's like casually falling, which is cool because it sort of displays time passing for sure, right? But let's get back into this. So this last panel, they're all running, and I still don't know. I have no idea what that is, but if you wanted to show them exploding, or it's exploding and they're running away, what's the angle? What's the angle that shows, or like, again, for me, thinking of it like as if I was filming a movie, can help a lot in this sort of thing. So panic where people are running away, I could see being from like a worm where you're looking up, where you almost see like a skyscraper behind them falling down, or Godzilla coming up, right? Like a big giant problem is coming up from behind people that's over them, makes people feel small, and that's a great thing to do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna like literally, I'm gonna go as simple as I possibly can. So if we've got people, and then I know you're using like fruits and veggies and stuff, but if you've got, I'll just use like cylinder kind of things. Maybe even up in the foreground you can have like somebody's face. They're running. All these people are running away or whatever. And you can still have like that mushroom cloud or whatever the fire is that's kind of coming up from underneath of them. Or from behind them, right? Like it's coming out to get them. And what this does is, again, it hopefully anyway, the feeling is that it's bang, it's behind them and now it's chasing them. So if we go back and we look at what you kind of had, you're still kind of doing that, but it looks like they're all, again, I don't know if they're running, but I'm assuming they're running, but they could just be all there looking at the camera screaming, So there, if we go to the second page, again, this is what I'm assuming now because I'm in page 2, is this is the meteor thing that crashed. And if we're going, it looks like I don't know really what's going on here. They're looking over here, but again, you did this thing. I see a lot of artists do this, where you have this perspective. Okay, this is your horizon line you've chosen, and I'm just following your perspective. So you've got like these lines here. They're not actually following perspective. They're just all like copy paste background stuff, and that doesn't work. Okay, what it should be is pick a spot. Like if that's what you're going to do, so let me get something to draw with here. Right. And this is your grid. Put the grid in there. A lot of people, you're not taking this step right here. You're not, to me, if you guys aren't putting perspective grids in your work, you're not taking this seriously. You're just trying to go through the motions to get it done. And if that's the case, stop drawing. Like this stuff is hard, and just question, why is it that you're stopping? Why is it that you don't want to draw a grid? Is it boring? You don't understand perspective? Those are all cues and answers to get you closer to where you actually want to be as an artist. If you're trying to skip steps and you don't know why you're trying to skip steps, think about it. Think about what it is. Why are you even drawing? Is it you want to tell a story? If you can't tell a story with perspective, if perspective is holding you back, then that's what you need to improve and fix, work on it. Don't worry about it being like a problem. It's a problem today, but don't shortchange yourself, okay? It's like, I'll always say it's like the gym. If you go to the gym every day, it's going to hurt, it's going to sting, it's going to, all that stuff, or even nutrition, the way you eat, you stop drinking pop, whatever the hell, right? It'll always pay off in the long run, the hard sacrifice you're doing now. So if you don't understand perspective, making a comic book is a great excuse to learn, okay? So let me turn off that grid, just so you can kind of see here. Let me do this. Oops. Sorry here. All right, so let me just back up. All right, and I just want to show you the difference of what I just added there and what you had. Okay, so here they are. They're very flat. I added a perspective, and that's the way it should look based on what you had. Okay, and some other things you can do, because it still looks pretty flat, is you can start putting some lines, to insinuate what the perspective was. Maybe lines are going, you can just start scribbling lines back here. That's cool. It's a pretty barren landscape. Maybe some rocks are in order. I don't know. Right? Maybe some mountains over here. I don't know. Do whatever you want to do. But what you're doing is you're breaking up what you had, and it just makes it a little bit more visually interesting, okay? So now I have no idea who these guys are. These guys are just showing up. And yeah, I mean, there's really not much else I can show you. There's a lot going on here that's flat, and I do think honestly, submit this, submit it no matter what, because the worst that could happen is you get the gig, right? Submit it no matter what. Just know, and I'm just being honest, John, here with your best interest as my intent. This isn't cutting it. This is a stepping stone, and I do think a lot of people, this is the stage you guys are at. And I don't know what level you're at. However, take your time with this stuff. If you're rushing, that's a problem. If you're rushing to hit a deadline and this is what you guys create, just stop. You're not ready yet, okay? And I'm not meaning to say this as an offense or to piss some of you. Excuse me, to piss some of you off. I want you guys to get angry at the fact that I'm telling you you're not. This is not it. This is nowhere even close to where you need to be. I want you to get a little bit upset at that, not to the point where you start pouting and start listening to other people or trying to show this to other people because I'm wrong. That's not the attitude I want you guys to have. The attitude I want you to have is to go, this is incorrect and I need to keep improving on this, okay? So you have to ask yourselves, what is it that you guys are doing every day? Are you doing this every day? If you're not doing this every day, start to figure out ways that you can. And some of you don't have the time to devote to do this every day. I understand that 100%. But there's got to be something where you start to take this shit super serious. I'm not saying that, Darren, in this case, that you're not taking this serious. I don't want that to be how this is coming across. I just want you to know that this isn't cutting it. And it's going to take you probably, depending on the amount of time you've got, probably a few more years to get to that point where now we're talking. Now there's something here that's happening, and that's good. That's not a bad thing, okay? And the reason why I wanted to really do this one for I don't want to say the first episode here, but the first thing to put out there is, again, I do think a lot of people draw like this, and this is the current stage. And you might be happy with this, okay? If you're happy with this, then don't worry about it. You don't need to listen to me at all. If you want to, if you're not happy with this, then what I'm trying to tell you is this, okay? Do not stop drawing comic book pages. Make that a priority. I try to tell people the 80-20 rule. 80% of whatever time you've got should be making comic book pages. The 20% should be study, meaning perspective, anatomy. The reason I say this this golden ratio is, if you want to do comics and tell story, you need to be doing that as much as you possibly can. You need to be able to learn how to change angles, change all that stuff. The anatomy stuff, that'll come along, but the storytelling is king. And arguably, just studying anatomy isn't going to tell you how to tell a story. You can tell a story with a figure doing something, but telling a story consecutively with panels and, like even what we just said with the first page with the explosion and all that stuff, that's actual, that's big time stuff that anatomy books aren't going to teach you, okay? Lastly, if you look at this panel here, it's the exact same panel as this one right here that we were looking at. It's 1 point perspective, which there's nothing wrong. It's just it's a simple perspective. The problem that I see here again is you're half-assing the grid. Okay, and I'll call you out on this one because I want people to hear how serious I am with this. Okay, perspective is a bitch. Perspective is 100% a bitch. But when you don't take it seriously, it's almost an eyesore, and it doesn't matter how well you draw. Bad perspective sticks out like a sore thumb. And what I'm saying is, you put this circle here, which everybody does, which is fine, which is great, and then you just sort of put in some lines like this. You did the railroad thing where you're making a railroad. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it's like the very first thing you almost learn when you're doing a perspective. And then you just started drawing inside of those things, okay? Some of that is right, but this is why I'm saying I get not offended, but I get pissed off with artists that do this because it's half-ass. And what bothers me is artists that half-ass things and wonder why they don't want to put in the work. Okay, so let me just put in a grid. And actually, it's a little hard to see here. Whoops. Let me just put a new layer. We're just gonna lower the opacity so you can kind of see underneath of it. Okay. Alright, so let me just show you, check out this door, right? This is why I'm saying how you can tell it's half-assed, okay? So this door, the bottom, if we follow it all the way back to the perspective, alright, cool, this door, nice, that works. Look where we put the roof. It's like halfway through. And then this one is shorter than this one. That's how you can tell, things are not, you're not paying attention. You're just going through the motions, and going through the motions is gonna get you nowhere. It's just gonna keep you frustrated, right? So if these are sort of, I'm just gonna make these blocks just so you can kind of see them a little bit easier. Right? And this is the thing, you have a line over here, so that means it's a 2-point perspective. Whenever a line is going somewhere, it's a perspective point. Okay, so if we got a horizon here, and we've got, let me just zoom out here. And I'm all eyeballing this here. I have a little bit of practice, but I still recommend you guys, check this stuff out on your own, right? So that perspective point, and this might look a little clustered to you. I hope it'll make sense in a second here. We'll just lower the perspective. It doesn't need to be that dark. So if we're going in here and we're drawing all of our, our little dudes, houses and stuff. I'm trying to simplify your designs a little bit just so you can kind of understand it. If you go here, check it out, right? Up here is where this is supposed to be. This is literally how it's supposed to be. And if you check, it's supposed to keep going back like this, And this is going up probably like to even where you had it was about here. So it's like kind of even up here like that. And this is like perspective 101, guys. I don't care what you're doing in comics. You got to understand this at least in some way that you can... Whoops, I lied to you. This isn't right. It's up there. I got caught up in yelling at you. Right. So this is again the point I'm trying to make. And you see how far back this one is? That's wrong. This one would be, right, if we were following what we did, right here. And there's your door. There's the roof, right? And you can see right away the difference. Right, like if I turn all this off, that's what you have, and then we just put a little difference. You can see it, like just understanding perspective a little bit goes a long way. And again, the same thing's happening here. Like this is where the roofs are, and look what's happening. Everything's sliding, and you're kind of putting like a wavy road in there. But when you have proper perspective, maybe we want to like get it a little more wavy. You can see this stuff a lot easier once you start, I'll even say like just caring about the perspective. There's certain rules in art, totally break them. Then there's other ones that they're just not there. And I think we're gonna wrap it up. I think I've beaten you up enough. There's certain things obviously here like that I can see that are the perspectives. Even in your figure work is a little wonky here. You've got a face looking this way. And then his arms go back like an action figure, but that's not at all how that would work. Like you haven't. This is the problem. It's you know what? If I had to walk away with one thing for you to fix, it's perspective, because your figure work will get a lot better. Your anatomy will get a lot better, right? And the reason why I say perspective is because just by knowing that this character is winding up to like smash this dude with 2 fists, you've got to move your torso back, And what that does is this is like more of an anatomy thing, but if your shoulders are coming up and you've got the tubes, I always say, tubes will help you understand this stuff, just because you can, put like a computer generated sort of grid around characters, right? Like you can see that there's like stuff here and how forms overlap. The head doesn't always go over everything, right? Like in this case, the pecs are kind of going over the guy's chin a little bit. This kind of stuff, okay? So you can see the difference there. All right, so I wanted to be a little bit brutal with this little critique here because, again, thank you, obviously, and please keep drawing. Don't actually. Let me just back up 1 second before I wrap this up. Where I was going with that is, the reason why I wanted to be a little aggressive with this is because I do think a lot of people, they want critiques and they don't know where to go and stuff like that, and I get it. I wanted to be aggressive a little bit because sometimes it scares people away from art, and I do think that's a good thing. Hear me out. I don't want to bully people into not being an artist at all. I want to pressure you to either man up or woman up or artist up and take this shit super seriously so that you're done screwing around. Okay, you're done not doing what it is that you're kind of doing it as a hobby, but you want to be better, but you don't know, like that dance that a lot of us tell ourselves that's just bullshit. Either you want to do art, you want a job in art, or you want to do comic books, or you don't. And if you're on the fence, this kind of aggressive talk, it worked for me. This kind of aggressive talk puts you into reality. It either goes, okay, I'm taking this seriously now, or, you know what, I'm okay with it being a hobby, or I'm not going to do it anymore. Because I'm just trying to make you guys happy. All right? You could go through the next 10 years of your life drawing like you did when you were in high school and still being upset that, you know, like nobody here reads my stories and being stuck. Or you could realize that, you know what? Art's not for me. Maybe I want to write or do something else, and you could potentially be a lot more happier instead of the struggle that a lot of I find people, younger artists most likely, where they struggle and they always like it's sort of like this safe lie you tell yourself where it's you'll get better, and at least it's like you're going through the motions without the reasoning behind it, and that the motions are what drive you as opposed to the end goal of what it is that you want to do. And I've always said this: if you guys want to be an artist, stop looking at what's going to get you a job this year, because honestly, you go to get a part-time job flipping burgers or something, and the money's not the problem. I would recommend you guys start asking questions like, what do I need to be doing today so that 10 years from now I'm a better artist, okay? Because you're in this for the long haul. You have to be. If you're not, then it's not the field for you, okay? Now, in saying all that, I just want to sugarcoat it just a little bit here for Darren, right? So again, thank you. I appreciate it. I do hope that, maybe, again, I don't know the place that you're trying to submit to. Maybe this is the same quality, we'll say, as what's already there. And this could be the thing that lights the fire under your butt to get better and all that cool stuff, okay? I do hope the best if this is something you want to do. And I'm not saying you're never taking this seriously. I just want to say the stuff that I've been saying, I hope it resonates a little bit with you so that you get angry at me and then you start to try to prove me wrong. Because when you start to prove, just not me, but maybe other people, that you're not good enough or you're not, you know what I mean? Like, it's good. For some people, that's fuel to keep you going. And that's all I want. That's all I want for all you guys, is to look at kind of like what I was telling Darren here. And because honestly, Darren, what you sent me, I would say is probably about, if you're one of these people, I apologize if this offends you, but what Darren sent me is about 95% of the style, the quality, and the art ability of people that send me stuff to critique. What you're seeing on the screen is about 95% of what I normally see, which means that this is all still very beginner intro stuff. Really, the only thing that's going to get you better or get you out of that 95%, time and dedication, and have a goal of where you're trying to go. If you don't have those three things, you're just going through the motions, and you're just wasting. Honestly, maybe not waste your time, but just don't expect great things if you're just sort of taking this stuff super casual. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm going. I know I'm going in circles, but I appreciate you guys' time. And again, please. I don't intend to be brutal all the time. I just want to do some real talk when we start this off. You know how we do this, right? But again, if you guys had anything you would like me to critique or look over, please, I encourage it. You can check out any of the descriptions in the link below. Make sure you check there too to go check out Darren's other work. Hey, I think in 2 months he said he'll know if he gets in or not, so we can all go check out and follow up and see how it's going. And you might have liked the story that was kind of talked about as well, okay? So check Darren's link and information in the description as well. Okay, guys, thank you. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.